What's up? Check out this blunt and honest review from the Jock and Nerd Podcast. That's us. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the jock.
He's the nerd.
And he's the rug boy.
What's up, guys?
Jock and Nerd. All right, let's get to this week's movie review. We are reviewing the 1979 cult classic, The Warriors. Here's your spoiler alerts first.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
How did we end up picking this movie?
I watched it. I said everybody else should watch it.
Yeah, Ruggs 2 weeks ago randomly told us he watched it.
Yes.
Imran goes, we should review that. Then I went, no, not yet. We got to do Home Alone. And then we had nothing to do this week. And then we said we're doing The Warriors. And then Bilotti found a way to get on this somehow.
Wait, but you did. I remember you mentioning you've always wanted to watch The Warriors.
This is also true.
Okay,
yes.
but then
But the series of events still remains the same.
yes, but the fact that Bilotti, I think Bilotti is a big,
Bilotti's in The Warriors.
yes, he's a big.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was one of the baseball Furies.
I'm the guy they're looking for the whole movie.
No, he's the guy with the Indian headdress or Native American headdress.
He's Cochise. Yeah, he's not Cochise. He's Dick Cheese. But we'll find out. But I have a feeling Bilotti loves this movie, and it's like the perfect movie review to have him on. Everything worked out. We got to do our best in 2024.
Yeah, you got to get someone from New York.
Yeah, someone that was
New York based,
an actual gang member
through all the gang attacks. No, I wasn't even alive at that point.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out if your story holds. Here we go.
Yeah.
This movie is based on a novel by Saul Urich, came out in 1965, also called The Warriors, and that book itself is based on a Greek story, Anabasis by Xenophon.
Can you tell us about Anabasis by Xenophon and make sure you're accurate like you were last week?
Well,
on the story.
Some people say that Xenophon's Anabasis is a kind of another take on the Odyssey, where it's Ulysses getting home. So,
it's another journey of
I didn't know that Ruggs was so
he knows his shit, man.
well versed in Greek mythology and the Greek stories.
I knew that. No, I know that's his shit. That's why
because he's Greek. He's Greek, isn't he?
I just fucked up now because I'm drunk. I said Ulysses. It's Odysseus.
Yes.
Of course.
All the time, because there's Greek things just bleed into one another, and I don't know where one ends and one begins sometimes.
It's all the same name. It all sounds like you're calling a cat. Like this, and then came and he wants to.
Everybody's these nuts. Euripides and
these nuts. Xenophon sounds like an EDM DJ or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Xenophon's
or an alien,
or an alien. Yeah, like Xenophon.
They all have the gods in it. They all have Scylla and Charybdis.
So Anabasis, it's a journey. It's a story of an ancient Greek mercenary army.
Calabasas?
Not Calabasas.
Oh, okay.
It's a Greek mercenary army crossing Asia Minor, Mesopotamia through some Greek war. So it's a journey of a gang that all of this is based on. On Rotten Tomatoes, the movie currently holding 88% tomato meter and 88% audience score out of 52 reviews. It's an old movie.
But initially, when this movie came out, in my quick research, it was not well liked.
No, it wasn't.
Ebert gave it 2 stars.
Siskel gave it 1. Yes.
Yeah.
Critics did not initially like or get this. Audiences, the kids, fucking loved it. It goes on to become a cult classic. The movie made for $4 million, pulls in a box office at $22.5 million. That's not bad. In 1979 for $4 million. This came out February 9th, 1979. Do we want to do 1979 box office there or anything?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry. I got to pull that up. Give me just one moment here just to give us a little bit of perspective.
Perspectives.
In-year releases from 1979. All right, so number 1 from that year was Kramer versus Kramer.
Oh, that was number 1, really?
Right? No, because Superman was 1978. Yep. Okay. Yep. So Kramer versus Kramer was number 1.
Okay.
Number 1. Number 2, Amityville Horror.
Oh.
Number 3, Rocky 2.
Oh, there you go.
Number 4, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. 5, Alien.
Ooh.
6, Apocalypse Now. 7, 10. I don't know what that is.
Bo Derek.
Sexy movie.
Oh, yeah.
Number 8, The Jerk.
Oh, Steve Martin.
Oh, classic.
That's a classic Steve Martin.
Classic.
He hates these cans.
Stay away from these cans.
Number 9, Moonraker.
Oh, you got a James Bond.
That's a James Bond film.
Yeah.
And number 10 was the Muppet movie.
Wow.
That has Muppets in it. Fuck them.
That Ruggs auditioned for the Muppet movie.
But other notables from that year, at least to me, I don't know if these are notables. I see Escape from Alcatraz.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Meatballs?
Meatballs was kind of a big comedy at the time.
My favorite porno film, The Black Hole, is in there.
Black Hole.
Black Hole, yeah.
Yes, 19. And then 31, National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Warriors comes in, what,
Landmark film.
28.
Yeah.
So not the most.
Yeah, it's not the 79 had
79,
some bangers.
Yeah, some great. And of course, Superman was still playing. That came out at the end of 78, right?
78,
So it happened.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was in theaters for a long time.
Yeah,
but
if you do calendar year grosses, Superman made the most money.
But of course.
the movie directed by Walter Hill, who also directed 48 Hours and some other things. But he's most known for 48 Hours with a screenplay by David Shaber and Walter Hill. Anthony,
Well, yeah.
what happens in this R-rated 1 hour 33 movie? It's a good runtime. Remember those runtimes
Yeah.
in the Warriors?
This movie is about a Greek named Ulysses that crosses a river.
Odysseus.
No. Oh, right. No, this movie is about this gang called the Warriors that gets framed for a murder when all the gangs convene of a crime boss or gang boss, big gang boss. And they're just trying to get their way home, but now the hit has been put on them, and every gang in New York is looking for them.
Yeah.
You got to figure out a way to get home.
Nice, simple, straightforward plot. Bilotti, I got to know, what does this movie mean to you? What is your history? How many times have you seen it?
I've seen like a handful of times. I came to it later in life. It was one of those things like you always knew about New York and you always heard about.
Yes.
And you saw like if you walked around the East Village in like the 90s, you saw like that logo in like the windows of t-shirt shops and you see the cosplayers. But I didn't see it until I want to say like 2003. So I was like in my 20s when I saw it.
Okay.
And then I've watched it a few times since then. And then my wife's cousin, she told me when I first met her that she's like, oh, I was an actress. I'm like, oh, what were you in? And she's like, I was in the Warriors.
What?
I was like, what?
Wait, who was she?
So when the gang that is pursuing them throughout the movie, the little dude that's in Commando, remember the one that what's it, Sully or Telly or Sully?
Yeah.
I lied. That guy.
I lied.
So they go to like a newsstand.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, you have to pay for that. And he's like,
oh, that's her?
That's her.
Yeah.
Oh my
She's
God.
a good-looking woman.
For what? Who's going to pay?
She's a good-looking little woman in the movie.
I thought it was odd that there's this like teenage girl in the one bodega open in the middle of the night
yeah, seriously. I
for
guess
some reason.
Like,
wow,
yeah.
that's her. That's cool. That's a cool connection.
Things were different in 79. Let me tell you.
That's awesome.
that's my connection
crazy.
to it.
All right.
But I mean, I like the movie. I like it a lot. It's very it's a fantasy. It's a New York fantasy, but it's a movie that can only really be made back then because back then that's what New York looked like.
I mean, arguably some of it looks a lot similar these days. Kind of.
there's parts, mostly the Bronx.
Yeah.
In fact, it's just all the Bronx that looks like that and way out in Brooklyn. But yeah, mostly the Bronx.
All right. Ruggs, what's your history with this movie?
Seen it a few times, but like I didn't really get a boner for it until the video game came out.
Okay, yeah.
I think it came out. The PS2 had a video game.
Rockstar 2005 puts out a video game, yes.
And that gives a lot of backstory and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that makes the movie, I don't know if it makes the movie better, but it fills in a lot of gaps.
Yeah.
So, and it's a great game. So that kind of reignited my interest in it. And I watched it again for the first time in a long time. And I love the opening I just love the opening.
Yeah.
It just sucks you right in.
Yeah.
Like the music and the going through the subway and seeing all the gangs.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. And so I was like, whoa, I have a new appreciation for the film. So, I always thought it was cool. And then the game kind of reignited it. And then seeing it again, I was like, I was taken aback by what I saw a little bit.
Yeah, I also, like you, rewatching it was the first time in a long time. I remember seeing this, I think when I was a teenager. Maybe my cousin showed it to me, but I've always remembered the Warriors come out to play. Ever since I was a little kid, that's been in my head. And honestly, I think this movie started my fascination with like wanting to go to New York City because of the danger and these colorful outfits. It's kind of like, this is crazy. This is what New York City's like. I'm in. Also, like David Letterman at the time, constantly making jokes about how dangerous New York was. So just the allure of this dirty, dangerous city was very
Now you live
exciting.
in Chicago, way more dangerous than New York.
It's about the same, arguably. You just got to live in the right places. So, but watching it again, I had a lot of fun. Anthony, I'm curious what you knew about the movie and then what you thought watching it for the first time in 2024.
Yeah, The Warriors was on my list back when I was Anthony Polanski.
Oh, God.
And I never got around to watching it. And then once Rugg said and he'd seen it and you were all enthusiastic about doing it, I was definitely on board. Walter Hill, I love 48 Hours.
Yeah.
The only history I have with the Warriors is I knew about that come out. The Warriors come out to play.
Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was even getting into. So, yeah, I watched the movie. Nice. I literally finished the movie, an hour ago?
Yeah, minutes before we started to record.
I mean, I know I delayed the start of the show because I was still watching the movie.
Second, yes.
Yeah. I like to do that. I like to fit it in at the last second.
It's hilarious. It's
Squeeze
fresh.
it in there.
It's fresh.
Yeah. I mean, the movie is, I like the way you described it, Imran. It's like fantasy New York, right? So right away you see all the gangs and stuff, and you're right away. I go, that looks ridiculous, and then I just go, okay, I'm just going to go with it. Everyone's just going to wear the same outfit.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Dudes are just going to wear vest with no shirt, and all the baseball players are going to color their face.
Oh, and they're colorful and sparkly sometimes.
So once you just buy into that and go, let go and be like, okay, I know this movie is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And just buy in. I mean, it's a fairly simple plot. It's easy to follow. I don't know that it's from 79, so I'm going to grade it on a curve, right? The action I'd say is good for 79, I guess. I don't really know if it's really holds up in that sense.
Yeah.
The plot is fairly simple, but there's not a ton of, character development. It really is just how can these guys get home?
Yeah.
I think the best part of the movie is just the vibes.
Yes.
So the music, the colorfulness, how dirty New York is, how unbelievably empty New York is at all times during the movie.
But it's one night in the middle of the night. I don't know.
I feel like New York would have been. I wasn't around in 79.
No, there probably
I can't say for sure, but I feel like there are people on the street other than them walking around. So yeah, I mean the vibes are good. It's a fun little movie. There's good, like I said, good music. Not a ton of depth to the movie. Overall, yeah, I mean it's a good time. I can see why people enjoy it, and what the best part, one of the most fun parts of the movie for me was just following them on the train stop. So I was literally looking up, like, where's Union Square?
Oh, really? Yeah. So they're coming down from Bronx.
Now that I've been to New York a few times, I was literally trying to figure out, okay, the Bronx to Coney Island. How far is that?
How long of a trip is that normally, Bilotti? Do you know? What's that, like an hour, 2 hours?
He's going from Coney Island to the Bronx, right?
Or Bronx back down.
Back down from the Bronx.
Going back down.
But where in the Bronx?
An hour and a half at least. An hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, an hour could be 2 hours, depending on.
We know in the Bronx where they're at.
I want to
when they first get off.
Well, back then, all of the Bronx was on fire, so it could be anywhere. But my guess is it was probably the South Bronx, because Riverdale is like Southwest, and that's really nice over there, and it's always been nice.
South Bronx.
They go to, it's a real spot, Van Cortlandt Park.
Right.
Oh, that's like center of the Bronx then.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like,
was that an hour and a half?
It could be, yeah. But if they're catching, like, what train goes up there? Quick, someone pull up a subway map. If they got an express, it could be like an hour, but it's probably like hovers around an hour and a half to 2 hours at least.
It's a long trip all the way down.
Long enough for a movie, which is probably why.
Sometimes they stop for 5 minutes. Sometimes you got to change.
Yeah. Sometimes
you got to wait for another train, and you don't know the fuck when that's going to come.
I mean, look,
Coney Island is not the furthest stop. I think Canarsie is the farthest stop, right? Isn't that the farthest stop that the subways go?
Or depends what the line is.
But Coney Island's pretty far out there.
It starts with
Jamaica, Queens is another one.
It starts with that shot of the Wonder Wheel at Coney Island. What was that washed away? But no, it's still
no, it's still there.
It's still there, right?
Yeah, it's still there.
How long does it take you to get from where you live? You don't take the subway from where you live to New York, do you?
No, I need my car for every place I work, so I don't really take the train. But what's the question? What's the
how long would it take for you to get from Brooklyn, deep in the asshole of Brooklyn, to like the Upper West Side or something like that?
It's actually, I did it like a few times when I first moved here, because you take it's a lot of train hopping. That's the thing with New York.
I'm looking for a number, Bloody.
Hold on. Jesus, give me a second. It was like 10 years ago. I want to say it was like 45 minutes to get up to. But again, that's with train hopping.
I would say
it's like
2 hours. I'll say 2 hours to do the trip in the movie, at least 2 hours.
I have a New York question before we do more analysis.
Yeah.
When they're in the park, is that Central Park that they're in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's supposed to be Central Park. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. They get to Central Park pretty quick.
Yeah.
I felt like.
Well, Central Park is not that far from the Bronx. No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
It's just you shoot down. It's just above.
Okay.
Just
It's
above the park.
in the Odyssey that they're going in. It's like in the upper part. So it's like the top half of it.
Watching this movie again, I love how New York looks. It's a character in the movie.
Yeah, it is.
There's garbage everywhere.
It's wet. It's slick.
That's how it looked, though.
I know. I don't even think the graffiti on the trains, which I love, I don't think they dressed that train.
No,
like, that's real.
That's how they look.
Fucking graffiti. It's dirty. It's
New York,
dangerous.
those 70s, those 70s movies that were shot in New York are like, that'll never happen again. And that is my absolute favorite period of films. Like any fucking movie that came out in New York in the 70s was like guaranteed to be awesome because of the city.
But it was the time you did not want to be out in the middle of the night in the late 70s in New York City.
No, my mother-in-law is in the Lower East Side, and she remembers, like, she tells stories about like how bad the city was. And my father-in-law, he lived in Alphabet City, which is now like where Tompkins Square Park is. And he was like, everything was on fire. He's like, I never wanted to leave my apartment. Like, that's how bad it was.
Do you guys know about the Guardian Angels, Imran?
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen them all the time.
Anthony, do you know about the Guardian Angels?
They're coming back, baby. They're coming back.
They wear the red berets. They're the vigilante group.
So, like, in the 70s, crime was so bad.
They're still around.
That this guy, Curtis Sliwa, and a bunch of other people started this fucking anti-gang.
Yeah.
Called the Guardian Angels, and they wore like red berets, and they would walk around and like they would be vigilantes.
Yeah, they would fight
awesome.
They would fight the fucking gangs, bro. And they are still around. You still catch some of them in the city.
That's cool.
All right, let's go through the sequence of events because there's some great shit in this movie. It's a time capsule. Remember subway tokens? It's hilarious. The gangs are paying to use the subway. I thought that was funny. Like, just jump the turnstile. But we start with this phenomenal summit called by Cyrus, leader of the Griff's gang. And it's he wants 9 unarmed delegates. So there's like 1,000 people in this scene and nobody's armed, and he wants to form a truce. And he points out how they outnumber the cops, and then you get the iconic, "Can you dig it?" and everybody cheering. But this guy was a last minute replacement. You know the story of this? They had cast an actual gang member to play Cyrus. And the night before filming, this guy disappears. Nobody knows what happens to him. So, I didn't even go over the cast. We'll go over the cast. Roger Hill gets the role of Cyrus, and he's not in the movie long. And it's such an impactful.
Oh, that's a good scene.
Iconic scene.
Well,
but think about it, there's so many people in that scene.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That scene is so colorful, but the one comment I had was, when he's going, "Can you dig it?" And at one point he goes, "Can you dig it, sucker?" That line, I only know that line from Booker T in the WWF.
Oh,
Booker
he used that?
Every time he used to come out, it would start with, "Can you dig it, sucker?" So now I know that he stole that from the Warriors.
Oh, yeah. They don't have any creativity.
There's a lot of shit sampled in like songs from this movie, too, like in hip hop and other things. But even the lines where he's like, "Our little piece of turf," just the way he delivers it, this fucking dude Cyrus is great.
He's a great orator. He's up there with all the great orators of our time, Winston Churchill and all the rest.
I was ready. Dude, this dude's like a Batman villain. I was ready to join sides myself. I was like, let's go. Let me go over the cast real quick because you have you're not gonna know any of these people, but they're important.
The Warriors, you're saying?
Yeah, the main Warriors. You got Michael Beck playing Swan. James Remar playing Ajax.
James Remar, I knew.
Oh, you knew James Remar. Okay. Dorsey Wright as Cleon. Brian Tyler as Snow. David Harris as Cochise. Tom McKittrick as Cowboy. And Marcelino Sanchez as Rembrandt. Terry Michos as Vermin. And then the girl, Mercy, played by Deborah Van Valkenburg, who I know from the 80s sitcom Too Close for Comfort.
That's right.
With Ted Knight and Jim J. Bullock. Roger Hill playing Cyrus. An amazing David Patrick Kelly playing Luther, leader of the Rogues. We got to go through the gangs, too. You see the lips and hear the voice of Lynn Thigpen as the DJ. and a cameo by a very young Mercedes Rule, who I was like, oh, that's Mercedes Rule. I forgot she was in this movie. But any more comments about that summit scene there from the behind the scenes shit I read? There were actual gang members.
Oh, yeah.
As well as actors, as well as undercover cops to make sure the actual gang members didn't do anything.
How do you organize such a thing? It's crazy. And then the cops have to roll up really quietly.
The chaos is great. They're just running in circles, but it looks fucking chaotic.
Yeah, I think it's very effective for what they're doing on a shoestring budget. And they got all these extras, all these colorful characters. You got the skinheads. You got all these different things. And, it is an otherworldly thing that's kind of fun. It's fun. And the setup is great. I think it sets up the whole story great. Now they got to get home without getting fucked up by everybody. They get blamed for the...
Luther shoots Cyrus, and that guy had to do his own stunt. And then he sees that one of the warriors saw him, and he blames the warriors. And
you got to love a good 70s or 80s movie where the guy gets shot.
Yes.
And he doesn't just simply collapse, but he falls off of something.
And then smashes through something else. Yeah. Roger Hill had to do that stunt.
That's a good death.
Yeah, they couldn't find a stuntman. So it was a great death. And then just Cleon, their leader, gets killed there as everybody buys that.
Because Fox saw Luther do it.
Yes, it's a Luther.
And then Luther blames the warriors so that the heat gets off of him.
Right away, yes. Yeah. But, man, still an impactful scene, and it gets things going. And then you get this great journey.
Well, what I like about that scene, is it does start this journey, but the thing is the warriors, which I picked up on pretty quickly, they don't know that they're being chased.
Right, not until way at the end.
Yeah, they're just getting out because of the cops. They don't even realize what's happening.
There's supposed to be a truce, and they're like, what happened to this truce?
Right.
But, okay, where are we going to go? You want to go some more favorite moments, or we want to talk about the gangs? There's so many little fun things about this movie.
I got some favorite moments.
Bilotti, give me a favorite moment.
I have one. When they're in the subway and the cops coming and they throw the bat at the cop's shins in slow motion.
And he trips over the bat for some reason.
It's like the weirdest thing to put in slow motion.
Yeah.
But they did it. And it's
like, I don't know if the bat was effective or the cop was just a bumbling idiot.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
And what I love too is the bathroom fight, because those bathrooms do not they exist, but they don't let people in the bathrooms anymore.
That's one of the only sets that they shot on a lot, most of it on location.
Right.
In the
that was a good fight.
But that's a fun fight where they all come out of the stalls.
I really liked the scene with the orphans. I like the setup where they're like, oh, the orphans are basically this little group that no one cares about.
They weren't even called to the summit. They were like, what summit? What
and then the orphans don't know about stuff, and they're trying to prove themselves. And the whole, just the ratcheting of tension where it's the orphans are there. They're trying to just get through. Then the orphans are like, you can go through. And then the lady comes out of nowhere.
Mercy comes in, causing trouble.
Causes trouble, basically challenges the orphans' manhood. Then they're like, okay, you can go, but you got to take off your shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck you. Yeah. And just the whole ratcheting up of the thing. And then the orphans fighting them. I thought that whole scene was really good. I also just like the way that lead orphan, he just looks stupid.
Yeah, he's kind of a pathetic schlub. Yeah, they were the lower tier gang. But dressed in equally dirty matching outfits, which is
was it white tees and green
shirts and jeans. They were all dirty. And it ends with them just throwing a Molotov cocktail on the car. It explodes.
Yeah, and they just run away.
Great explosion. And now Mercy is with them. Mercy, first of all, Jesus, this girl, she calls him chicken shit. She's like, give me your vest. And then she just ends up going with them because she's like, I'm done with them. Ruggs, favorite gang for you?
Best gang is are the baseball guys. What are they called?
The Baseball Furies. I was going to ask this question to everybody, but there's only one right answer, isn't there?
Because they're just the most memorable. I don't think they're the best gang. They don't talk at all.
Yeah.
No.
They're completely silent. And they're kind of suck, but they're just memorable. They have this bat fight in the middle of Central Park.
That's great.
And there's a chase scene where they're running and they're it's what they did, and I feel like at the time it was really cool. I love the concept of this movie. This is a movie that it did what it needed to do, and I don't know if they should remake it because I don't think they could remake it with the same kind of stuff, but I feel like this concept is a great concept, and there's so much you could do with it.
Well,
And,
it's basically Mad Max and Apocalypto. It's kind of
Sure.
like
Just
a
in the
similar-
city.
just
Yeah.
a chase movie.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with a good chase movie.
yeah, and like you got the odds are like you have all these people against you. Everywhere you turn, there's another gang that you have
It's
to
like
deal with.
it's very comic booky, very video gamey. There's like bosses, mini boss battles.
I got to give a second, or I got to give a kudos to the other gang that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The Furies were obviously the best.
Yeah.
But the guys wearing the overalls and
Oh yes, those are
and just hanging, the ones that get into the bathroom fight.
Oh, the
those
roller
guys
skate
are-
guy?
guys on the roller skates.
Yeah, the roller skate and overalls. That's a look for
They're-
sure.
those
What
are
about
the
the
punks.
ladies? The ladies that try and lure him in
The
with
Lizzies.
with the honey
those
pot.
are the
Oh, yeah.
those are the
Yeah.
Lizzies. That scene is great because it gets them in and they get them and they have guns and they're such bad shots that
Bad
these
shots.
three get away and not get hit.
You gotta love the wooden chair shot to the girl's
Oh my
dome.
god, they're punching the women.
You know that Rembrandt had no interest in any of those girls.
Well,
No.
Yes, I don't think
Well, he
Rembrandt.
knew either he's low key he's actually homosexual or he knew what was going on.
Yeah, he's
I
like
think
this is
or
too good to
both,
be
or
true.
both.
or both.
Or both.
I don't
Yeah.
trust
I guess it could be
these.
both.
Yeah.
He was the one that was going, wait a minute, what are these ladies? What's going on here? Why are they just throwing
I
themselves?
mean,
at
so
us?
as a kid, you clearly remember the baseball Furies. Also, they have weapons. They have a bat. They're committed to their bit. They have makeup inspired by Kiss. It's fantastic. You can't forget that. But I
What
thought
was the name? What was the name of the final gang? The one
the Rogues. The Rogues is the
Rogue.
one Luther is a part of.
they had like the leather.
Yeah.
They drove a hearse, which is nice.
I didn't realize that line where he says Warriors come on and play. I didn't realize that he decides to put 3 glass bottles on his
great.
fingers.
Like, you hear the clinking. So there's a story about that. Apparently, Walter Hill was like, come up with something, and David Patrick Kelly just came up. He found these bottles on the street and just came up with the Warriors come out to play. He does say Walter Hill helped him a little bit, but it was an improvised, made up line that he loved, and it's the most iconic fucking thing out of the whole movie. And I've always loved that. So that's the Rogues. I thought the Gramercy riffs were fascinating. I feel like they're like the martial artists, or they were dressed like kung fu dudes.
Yeah, they had the full on outfit. They all had the glasses. It was great.
They were like top
I'm
tier.
pretty sure they were the gang. They were spawned off the gang that was in Enter the Dragon with the black guy that helps.
That's what it reminded
Black
me
Belt
of.
Jones.
Yes,
That's his gang.
that's what it reminded me of. The Warriors, they got vests, they got embroidery on the back. It's not bad.
No, they had the coolest vest, man.
They did have, you can wear it with a shirt, without a shirt. You know.
I liked Ajax, but he got taken out. He got arrested by the cops in the middle of the movie.
That's a great scene with Mercedes Rule posing as undercover.
Remar is just super. I mean, he just wants to have sexual assault all the time.
Everywhere he goes.
He's Sub-Zero.
But yeah, he was
He was
rated.
rated. He was rated.
Well, he was raided.
Oh, he was Raiden. I was gonna say.
And he was
What I-
Hicks. He was Hicks until he got fired.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Oh, really? Oh.
The Warriors. I wanted to say, just looking at all of their bodies.
Yeah.
Does any one of the Warriors weigh more than 175 pounds?
No, but that's what people used to look like back in the 70s.
Yeah.
They were
Was it
pretty
because
floppy.
of all the coke they were doing in the 70s?
Just no preservatives and shit in the
Yeah,
food.
there was no preservatives in the food. I think at that time.
I mean, just watching this movie, though, the thing that stuck out to me is the lead being so skinny, and then you just go fast forward maybe 3 years, 3 years to the 80s, and then you get like the Arnolds and those type of bodies, and it's just like, what a dichotomy. In the 70s, they thought this was the look of a tough guy.
I was like, how is Rembrandt going to survive anything with that floppy ass? I don't understand. He's the graffiti artist, though. They all had like position.
You see his graffiti? It was the lamest
It was
graffiti.
just a bad
He's like,
W.
"Oh, check that
Yeah.
out. Be just a W. Like nothing
Horrible.
special.
But there's like positions in the gang, right? There's war chief, there's a scout, there's an enforcer, there's an artist, there's like the soldiers.
Are we gonna waste them?
Well, look, the movie's a very simple movie. They got to get from point A
One
to
place
point
to
B,
another.
and they got to come up with some interesting things to kind of avoid getting into fights or to try and maximize like their ability to get home. But I thought when they got home finally that there was going to be other warriors there.
No,
Like
there's
that's
only
why
them.
they were going to be safe
Oh,
because
yeah. Where's the
they're
rest of
home,
them?
and then all of their fucking boys are going to be there. But they get home and there's nobody there.
That's a good point. There's only them.
I'm like, all they got is 9.
And why do they need to grab weapons underneath a dock?
Oh, that's where the weapons were?
Well, that's where they get their stuff. Like, they're home.
Yeah.
Couldn't they have just gone home?
That's their home. They live in the amusement park. I don't know.
Yeah, they're from Coney Island.
Yeah. The other thing I love is I saw this video. Somebody had taken scenes of the Warriors and done the same camera movement in the same location in like 2024. And especially the subway, aside from the turnstiles, everything looks very similar. Like, I don't think much of those locations have changed inside the subway because all that subway shit looked the same.
Yeah, it's still a crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah,
in New
it's
York.
kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Not much has changed.
Infested.
Rat infested.
But there's so many, and then I mean, of course, there's some language that doesn't hold up. There's some F-word slurs, and then they kept saying "getting japped," and I was like, "Are they still mad at the Japanese in 1979?"
Possibly.
Was that what that meant?
I don't know. They're like,
The line I caught was wasting people. We're going to waste them.
We're going to waste them. And then when he goes to Mercy, maybe we should pull a train on you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, there's some attitudes
And
here.
they're like, oh, I bet she would like it.
Yes. She's like, fuck you. You get so many other things. You see Grace Papaya in the background, which is also great.
But still there.
That's still there outside the 96th Street
Well,
station.
how about the scene in the beginning when they're getting chased on foot by a car and the car just doesn't catch up to them?
That's the Turnbull ACs. And they had weapons somehow, but yes, they couldn't. They were being
They
chased.
could not catch up to those guys. They should have just ran them right over.
They get away on the train, and then there's a track fire, and they're getting off the train. They get split up. You notice at one point, Mercy has a jacket on, and she's like, oh, I stole it. The actress had broken her wrist in one of these. Out of all of them, she breaks her wrist running, and so she had a cast, and so they had to cover it.
So they originally had like a different actor that she was supposed to hook up with.
Yes.
Then they fired him, and then they killed him off in the movie. Like he's the one who gets thrown into the subway.
He's the
gets
guy.
run
Fox.
over.
Yes, Fox. So here's the story of Thomas Waits, who played Fox. He did not get along with Walter Hill on the set of this movie. He threatened to report him to the Screen Actors Guild. And so Walter Hill had Fox fired and written off. So that whole sequence where he's running down the stairs and the cop, he fights and he throws him, that is not even him. It's a body double. Thomas Waits also asked for his name to be removed from the credits, and they did. So that's a different guy playing Fox so they just killed him off.
Well, one thing, though, is Fox is the guy that sees the murder of Cyrus.
That's true, but at the end they have a different dude. Snow goes to see the Riffs to tell them.
No, what I'm saying though is, but it is a little messy at the end.
Yeah,
because what's his name? The Swan talks to Luther and says, "I know you killed them."
right.
But there's never a scene where Swan finds that out.
That's true because Fox is the only one.
Fox is the only one. I mean, I guess it could be implied that he might have told them off scene, off camera, but there's never a scene where he finds that out.
That's a good point.
So how does he know that?
Fox told somebody who told somebody.
I mean, you
guess.
can make
Yeah.
that leap that they're all in the same game. They probably would have shared information, but it'd be great to see it on fucking screen.
Yeah, that part, I literally paused the movie. I went, how does he know that Luther killed him?
Yeah,
Because you don't get that scene.
that's true. He does call him out. Luther pulls a gun, and Swan throws a knife at his wrists, and then the Riffs are just there.
What happens? Okay, here's
That's
another
crazy.
question.
Yeah.
Unanswerable. When he when he throws the knife at his hand,
Yes.
he has the gun pointed at them. The gun goes off.
Yes.
Where does that bullet go?
And how did the knife come in like perpendicular if he's
No,
pointing?
but
the
more
gun?
importantly, where
did
does
the
the bullet
bullet go?
the bullet should have gone straight at somebody.
Somebody got hit.
Hey,
And,
get off my back about that already.
Yes, you're gonna have to get all the way off
My back.
No, fun stuff. And the behind the scenes shit, like people were protesting this movie when it came out. There was stabbings and shootings in the movie theater because the gangs went to see it. When they were filming it, people were peeing on them. Gangs were peeing on them and throwing bricks. I think that still
Peeing
happens.
on them?
Yeah, that still happens in New York.
Yeah, they were like listening to R. Kelly and everything.
How?
They would like from above because a lot of times they were under the bridge and under those structures. And from windows and buildings, apparently people were peeing on
That's
them.
a long stream. If you're shooting a pee
If you
from a
can hit
window,
that, yeah.
that's a long stream.
But ballsy to shoot this
Onto the street?
at night. They had to make peace.
Haters want to hate.
Like they had to pacify the gangs that were there by putting them in the movie.
None of the above. I'm gonna pee on you.
Ronald Reagan loved this movie also. He called, somebody called them to tell him that.
Here's another question. What made you decide to throw this movie on a couple weeks ago?
I don't know. I just wanted to watch an 80s movie. I just wanted that. I wanted like that, this like, we're watching all this like sanitized, clean, like nice for you stuff. And I'm like, I want some dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to see some shit that like, I want to see people say crazy shit. I want to see, it's because it's a fantasy. It's not real. Mm-hmm. I just want to get it. I want to be out of wherever I am and be somewhere else. And I wanted to go back. Like I could say like, okay, now that New York is shitty again, I'm like, okay, let's do a comparison. Let's see how are they lighting people on fire in this movie, or people just randomly getting stabbed.
Well, that's no reason. The thing. That story about that woman getting lit on fire. Crazy. That's crazy. And shit. I heard people were like, the bystanders around her were just like, I don't see nobody on fire. And like nobody did shit. And I was like, this is 1979. And like, how much really has changed?
They're not, I don't know. I don't want to go too far off the rails, but like they haven't released the identity of that woman. But like my local councilman made a post on Twitter about it. And he sort of alluded that I think she was also like another homeless person.
No, she was homeless.
Oh, yeah. And there was some sort of like, the homeless, the thing with the homeless, man, like they have turf. It's not that different from the Warriors.
Yeah.
I should be making jokes about it, and my guess is they had like a turf war or some shit going on. And if I'm like a New Yorker and you see like homeless people go at it, like you don't step in. So you know what I mean? Like you stay away because you can get stabbed or they can give you scabies or some shit. Like you don't know.
There's still gangs in New York, right?
Look, someone should have done something, but I'm sure Alicia Keys is not happy with this outcome.
Reeling it back into the movie.
Yeah.
Let me ask another your question. People from Coney Island, did they look that clean back then?
No.
Those guys are clearly the most well-dressed, most groomed guys out of
all of them in the Warriors. Yeah.
You look at the Orphans, they're
dirty
fucking dirty. Yeah. Everyone else is kind of grimy or has a weird thing, but the Warriors look pretty slick. Like they look like they're pretty. They have warm showers.
Right.
And
they do look like they
access to good workout facilities. And food.
Yeah. Coney's a weird place because it's like Irish, it's Italian, it's black, it's Puerto Rican, but now it's mostly black and Puerto Rican with some Chinese moving in. But back then, it was very mixed. But there's no hot water over there.
Their aesthetic didn't seem to me, although I don't know anything about Coney Island, didn't seem to me very Coney Island.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. In fact, I was just reading really quick about the making of this movie because I was kind of curious.
Yeah.
And apparently in the book, the characters, like the Warriors, weren't white, and they wanted to cast black actors, and Walter Hill said no because it wouldn't be commercial.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be commercial,
and that's part of the reason they're all clean cut.
Yeah, for commercial reasons.
Well, they weren't all white.
Yeah, no, they weren't. They weren't. Yeah.
So I think it's half and half, like 4 black guys and then 5 white guys.
Right.
Other behind the scenes stuff. Tony Danza, originally cast as Vermin, but gets the job on Taxi and takes that instead. So you could have had Tony Danza.
Probably a better choice.
Probably, I think. The Simpsons parodied this. So many people parodied this. It's become iconic. Walter Hill really wanted to make it a comic book like stylized thing, and I guess on the director's cut, he has comic book panel transitions. And you notice there's vertical wipes that he does use in the movie, which is kind of very comic booky.
The quick letterbox reviews I read said the director's cut is basically ruined by all the comic book type shit. He does.
I wouldn't check that.
I could see that. I've seen what it looks like, but I don't know if it's necessary.
What does the director's cut add?
I think probably just those transitions that he wanted to do.
Comic, that's what I read about this, the transitions.
I believe there are some deleted scenes, though, that he might have put back in. The other crazy thing, 1979 had 5 gang movies come out. The Warriors being the first of them. They were trying to get this out before their competitor, which was called The Wanderers. And 2 of the guys in the Warriors were in The Wanderers, but there was also...
The Wanderers is a good movie, too. Isn't that the one with that song in it?
I don't know. That's the other
On the dark side.
Is it? That's the other big one that people talk about. But there's Walk Proud, Over the Edge, Boulevard Nights. But it was like in the 90s when like Boys in the Hood came out and Juice came out and Don't Be a Menace to Society came out.
Were there a lot of like when you think of gang films from the 70s, you think of Italian mob films?
Yes. Here's what I think is
No. Actually, let me step in here.
Yeah.
If in neighborhoods like the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in Queens, every neighborhood had its gang. It was this bunch of street gigs that they weren't like an organized, with fucking, matching vests and shit. But like they were like, they had their own gangs. They really did. But I don't know. They weren't like as flamboyant or whatever, but they were local gangs.
No, they didn't want to get noticed back then.
The thing about I don't think they had gang content like this that's shown from the point of view of the gangs.
Looking of the gang, yeah.
Essentially, Saul Urich was a social worker in the 50s and 60s. West Side Story comes out, and it's kind of the only big gang thing in culture, right? It's this glamorized dancey fighting, and him being a social worker, he wanted to write a book as a reaction. So the book is a lot grittier and depressing. But the fact that this was a movie like kind of for kids from the gang's point of view, just showing, one night in the life of a gang, I think really connected to the gangs, absolutely, who came to see it.
How old do we think these people are?
Oh, in the movie or in reality?
No, in the movie. What are they?
In the early 20s.
Yeah, I would think
early 20s.
Late teens. Yes.
I'm gonna paste this article into the thing about New York gangs. You could, if you want to check it out.
Current New York gangs? They're still around.
No, in the 70s.
Oh, in the 70s. Because they were not as colorful, but just the idea of these matching outfits is fucking
Can I read you some of these gang names?
Yeah, what are some of the gang names? Real gang names.
Nomads, Savage Skulls, Black Spades, Javelins, Reapers, Hell's Angels.
Oh, Hell's Angels.
All would have fit.
Hell's
Angels.
Yeah.
Those are good names. They would have fit in this movie. I mean, this movie he named like 21 gangs that you see briefly. You don't really see.
The people on the rollerblades were the punks.
Those were the punks. I don't know what's punk about them because they're wearing overalls and fucking striped shirts but you had gangs like the Hurricanes, the Boppers, the Hi-Hats, the Electric Eliminators. I just love the set dresser. They must have told her, I need 12 camouflage jackets. I need you to find me all the same sequin purple fucking jackets.
I would have loved to see more gangs like fight the Warriors.
Yeah. You just get that brief roll call in the beginning and you get the mimes. What about the mimes?
That's why actually when you said that this movie shouldn't be remade, I actually think there's more potential for a remake.
Yeah, well, you want to know something? They were going to remake it in LA with street gangs. Like
I saw that.
That can work.
With like Ice Cube and shit.
That would have been interesting if you do South Central version of this.
I think you could ratchet up I think you could do a more realistic version and ratchet up the violence.
Do you think the John Wick movies are a little bit similar to this movie?
It's got the same vibe. Definitely
New York City, and everyone's like an assassin, apparently.
Trying to kill you.
I believe John Wick 4 was actually inspired by this movie because that's the most of the Warriors out of all of them.
I think that's the legacy of this film.
Absolutely.
It's just that how much it inspired.
Yeah. I think you have to do it in the 70s. I think if you try to do it now, it'd be too much like John Wick.
Yeah, it would be weird. You can do it in the 80s. You can do a period piece. You could do it with the triads and the Russian mob and the Italian mob easily.
Oh, that could be good too.
Yeah, and the triad had cool names like the Flying Dragons, Ghost Shadows, White Tigers. Come on, you got to put them in a movie.
So just last year, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's been trying to make a musical version of this, put out a musical concept album called The Warriors. I listened to it this week. It's not bad. He pretty much follows the story. The genres of music is a blend of everything from hip hop, punk to reggae to heavy metal to pop. It's a complete range of music. He does a couple of interesting things. He makes Cyrus and the Warriors women, so they're a women gang. The Lizzies are the Blizzies, and they're all men. But that's only because then you just have a bunch of dudes singing, right? It helps the range of these songs, but it's not bad.
Why is swapping one for the other better?
Just for
You have a woman gang, and you have
no, but vocal range, just for the singing the songs instead of. I mean, otherwise you got all dudes who are going to be. It's going to be hard.
I'm just saying, you have the Lizzies already. It's a female gang, and they have a big part of the story.
Yeah, but they're not the lead. So instead, now he's got the lead warriors as a group of women with different ranges.
Oh, the warriors are women.
The warriors are women, and Cyrus. Yeah.
Oh.
How about the DJ? We even talk about how she's like calling out the hit and helping him out.
That's the lady from Carmen Sandiego.
Yes, that is the lady from Carmen Sandiego, and she apparently.
I thought that was a clever little
fun
thing there as well.
I love the needle drops where she like this. First of all, the line "Let's get down to it, boppers." Like I've heard that in a lot of music sampled. Like that's a classic line. But then she plays "Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide" to start the thing, and at the end, the Joe Walsh in the City, great song to end this movie as they make it home in the daylight. Okay, I think let's wrap it up. Bloody, you made a good point about the legacy. Give me your final thoughts, what the legacy is, and what score you would give this movie.
What are we rating?
Out of 10, please.
Out of 10? Oh, Jesus. That's a tough one.
Why does that make it harder?
You give me, it's like, can you just give me like 5? So I can be like,
just double the 5.
If you just double it.
All right, I guess I'll double it. I give it like an 8.5.
All right, yeah.
You know what? I'm going to give it a 9 because of how influential it is on modern filmmakers.
Oh, you like this movie? I couldn't tell. If you really
I like the movie. I just don't like. I like the movie. It's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time capsule in New York. But there's not like you just like it for what it is on the surface, and like this is the movie that people that are not from New York think what New York looks like, and it's kind of not. No, I do like the movie. It's great. I like it as much as I like his other movie, Streets of Fire. That's another fun one.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a really good one. It's insane.
It's like a spiritual successor to this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, then he does it after 48 hours.
No, and in fact, what? Oh my God, I forgot to mention this, but the Warriors in Streets of Fire inspired the games Streets of Rage, obviously, and Double Dragon. Like they specifically say those movies inspired those video games.
Oh, yeah, this cast is interesting. Deborah Van Valkenburg returns. We got Rick Moranis, William Dafoe.
Yeah, Diane Lane.
Bill Paxton. What a crazy cast.
Yeah, the cast is insane. In that
it's a
movie.
good movie. You should check it. I talked about it a long time ago, but I had just watched it.
Whoa,
yeah, it's a weird lost. It's a lost film, but they work really well as bookends to each other.
Yeah,
like they're very complementary. So I kind of put them in like the same league. But they just, like I said, I respect this movie for how influential it was. But is it a great movie? I mean, sure.
Anthony, final thoughts, score.
Yeah, this movie again. It's vibes, baby. It's the 70s New York and the gangs, and it's a whole thing. I was trying to think of the movies that it kind of reminded me of around this era. So other movies around this era: Assault on Precinct 13, Escape from New York. It kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And it kind of also The Outsiders a little bit.
Oh yeah, like
those kind of films. It has the John Carpenter-esque synthy score.
Yep,
as well. Yeah, so. I would like it kind of. I think if Carpenter had it, it'd be better. So I think there's actually a better movie here. So I respect what it's done. Its influence on culture. I don't think it's actually that great of a movie.
Okay,
if I'm being honest, I don't think there's a ton of depth to this movie. It's fairly simple.
Yeah,
but to me, it's not an all time. You watch this and your life is changed. Maybe back then. So you got to grade it. For me, I'm grading it on a curve. I would rate it about 7. 7, okay. 7.5. I'll probably lean more towards 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I get that.
Only reason for that is I don't think like the action isn't that great. I wish there was more gang fights and stuff, and I wish there was more kind of depth to these characters. Like you follow them, but I don't know that I particularly know anything about them.
Sure.
The only guy I really know about is Remar, and he's just very rapey. Like the rest of the guys are just kind of there. Like even Swan, he's just a stoic guy, but that's it.
No, there's
it's simple. It's a simple movie.
I just want to piggyback on what you're saying because the action for Walter Hill is a great action director, but he was sort of finding his footing with this movie.
Yeah,
like he got much better, especially by Another 48 Hours. Like those scenes are crazy.
I love Another 48 Hours.
Yeah,
48
I do
hours.
Too. But if you put this remake in the hands of like George Miller or Chad Stahelski, I think they could do like it's like Fury Road, right? Fury Road is a very simple story, but the way it's filmed is incredible. So you can make this incredible movie. I just think it's the right movie, but with the wrong choreography at the time, if that makes sense.
You know, it was his third movie he made, so
I would say this movie, and then we can go into Bruggs. I'd say this movie, the plot is fairly simple. I think the setting and the costumes and all that stuff is what really elevates, and the lines, some of the lines that are said. You know,
it's all about the aesthetics.
It's the aesthetics that really elevate the thing. It's me,
Bruggs.
Yeah, I can echo what Anthony's saying. Basically, the film is it's the sum of its parts. It's 1970s, early 80s, the New York filth and grime and sweat and the gangs. Like, that was a real thing. The gangs were a real thing. So it was pulling from reality, but making it more like larger than life and more interesting. And these colorful gangs, some of them don't speak, some of them have makeup on. It's got a fucking whole vibe. And the opening of the film where all the gangs are going, it gets you pumped.
Yeah.
Like the music and the way that the title screen, it's just such a fucking, it's a vibe. Like Anthony said, it really is a vibe. And like that, watching movies now and just seeing everything being so like samey, and it's so fresh to go back and watch this movie and just see that. Now, the actual plot to this film, it's an odyssey. They got to get back home, right? They got to go back home. They got to get back to where they are. I don't think that they did it in the best possible way. I think they left a lot on the table. You had all these interesting gangs. You didn't really pull a lot of them. The fight scenes aren't as great as they could be. I wanted to see them get back home to Coney Island and have all the other warriors there locked and loaded, ready to defend them when they got there. You know, they did the switcheroo and had the Griffs over there, which is cool. But ultimately, I think you got to see this movie if you want to have this experience. Like, if they remade it, I think you would lose something.
Yeah.
And I might be up for that. I might be up for like trading off some of that 1970s nostalgia and weirdness for like a gang odyssey of people trying to get fucking back to a safe place while being hunted. Like, it's very John Wick. John Wick is, all those movies are like that. Yep. So that it's a tried and true formula. If I'm going to give it a rating, I'm probably going to go a step above Anthony and go into a 7.5, 8 category, but just because it stuck with me. I don't know if it actually deserves it, but it just stuck with me in the vibes category. You know,
yeah, I like you guys. I love the vibes. I love the gritty, dirty, dangerous, wet, pulpy nature of this film. Sweaty. You can smell the fucking garbage on the street watching this. So I do think it's culturally significant. It has a huge influence. I also, like you, Ruggs, I feel like it's a movie you got to watch as a time capsule for New York and just for filmmaking in general, like on the 100 greatest movies or whatever. You definitely should. It deserves to be there. You should watch it. And just iconic. The lines I've known ever since I was a kid. I'll give it an 8.5. It's of a different time. But I think
I don't know. Fun. Do you think they should remake it? I think. What do we got?
I outside of the South Central, maybe like in the 90s idea. I don't know.
I think there's a ton of potential to remake it and put it in a different setting. You could go L.A. You could go
Detroit.
You could go to England. You could go to those gangs. You could do a ton of different things with that concept of all these gangs trying to fight off this one gang. Or this one gang trying to fight this off.
Do you keep like the outlandish, fantastical nature of it? Because that's kind of the twist, right? That's what sets it apart.
You have to.
So you still make it kind of comedy.
There's no point in remaking it if you're not going to do it justice like that. Yeah. That's the whole appeal of the movie. Is the
like if you make it so realistic, it'll just look like every other movie. Yes. It'll be like a John Wick.
Yeah.
Right?
It's essentially John Wick. Yeah. If you do it, I mean,
it kind of. The difference though is John Wick is one man. This is a gang.
Right.
So you can also play into like. I felt like there was more that could even be done between the interpersonal relationships within the gang.
Yeah. And I mean, there's sort of like a forced romance in there. I mean, they make out for a second.
Yeah, there could be like a pecking order thing, and
they fight over who wants to be leader for a second, right? Like Swan speaks up, and Ajax is like, "Who made you leader?" And he just steps in.
Well, Ajax, they just got rid of him in the middle of the movie. They should have and they never go back to him. He's just in jail.
He's just in jail.
So I think one of the ideas for a sequel, I thought I read somewhere, is they wanted to make a movie about the Warriors breaking Ajax out of jail. If you were to do a direct sequel.
See, I don't think I didn't get the sense that anyone liked Ajax.
No, he was kind of an asshole and was just asking for trouble, and he shouldn't have went and talked to Mercedes Rule. You're an idiot. And,
I don't think they would. I don't think they would have broken him out of
wanted
jail.
to get laid. He's like, he might die tonight, so he might as well die.
He's like, I don't know if I can make it home.
Yeah. Well, his whole line was, "I'm going to go tell her how dangerous it is in New York."
She's like, look at those muscles. You like those? Use those, and then he just starts assaulting her. I was like, Jesus, Ajax.
He's like, I like it rough.
It was 1979.